Welcome, friends. Welcome to Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life. This is Kiki Rogers, and I am so happy to be here. It is a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and surrounded by beautiful people. I will say Kiki's key number 2 is surround yourself with people of similar values, and I'm so happy to be here with Miss Nancy Jones, owner of Crossroads Coaching and one of our sponsors, as well as my own personal coach. Welcome, Nancy, to the show.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So glad to have you here. I was thinking about you this morning. I say my affirmations every morning, as you remind me to. And I was thinking about how I had been having some trouble sleeping, I told you about before. And I've actually been sleeping a lot better since working with your program. And I also do hypnotherapy, and that's been helping with my dreams. And just it's working so much faster than I thought it would, you know?
That's why I say further, faster.
Yes.
It works.
Awesome.
This stuff works, man.
It does. It just, it helps keep you kind of on track, or your focus on the positive and where you want to be going.
Exactly. And that's what it's designed to do, is to automatically default to positive.
Well, I love that. I thank you for being here, being a co-host with me today, and being a sponsor. And I do want to also thank Sean Scott with hypnotherapy. He's a hypnotherapist, Sean Scott. We Care Tucson, Sarah Sodders Real Estate, Phones Down, Just Drive, and Network Outdoors. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And like Nancy, who helped this show go on, we today get to share with Val Moreno. Welcome back, Val, to the show.
Thank you.
And Val, you're here today because you and I got into a really great conversation, and we wanted to extend it to our listeners about how using coaches and therapy and making a change in our life, using some of those resources, really made a difference for you as well. And so I asked to come on to talk more about that. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, it all started, like most Gen X kids, we probably grew up the same. Our feelings were not really attended to, and it didn't really matter where we were going to.
Right. There wasn't a lot of hands-on parenting at that time.
You're not allowed to cry because you got food and you got clothes, you got a roof over your head. Leave me alone. So I think that created a lot of problems and a lot of emotional distress growing up that way.
Okay.
And along my life, because of that, I think I made a lot of wrong choices. And those wrong choices led me to hurt and create a lot of hurt for myself.
Yeah.
Not taking any accountability, just being the victim and not doing anything about it to change things. When I finally decided to do therapy, which was about 2 years ago, I realized that I really needed it. And I found it, and I found the perfect therapist, and it has been a great impact to my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Not only have I learned to take accountability for the mistakes that I've done, I was a person that I wouldn't draw boundaries, and I didn't know that. And I would let people walk all over my boundaries, and they didn't know.
Let's take a step a little back. Let's look at, you were saying about when you're not being accountable, making poor choices. As you were sharing that, it reminded me a lot of my late teens, early 20s, and I thought some of it is part of that growing process, making those mistakes and turning our losses into lessons, right? But at what point did you realize it was beyond that and that you wanted to work more on the inside?
When I had my kids, especially when I had my second kid, I had a lot of anger issues. And they were really scaring the heck out of my family, because I would have these big, huge tantrums, over like the smallest little things. And one day my husband, which is my hero, he had a talk with me, and he told me, he's like, do you want them to grow up the way you grew up? Do you want them to have the same problems you're having? Getting angry over a paper on the floor instead of just picking it up. Like, that's an easy solution. Why are you bending out of shape over it?
Was that how your parents had responded? Were
Yes.
you mirroring that?
Yes. It was, my mom would oh my gosh, she was always mad for everything. Like, we couldn't even look crooked at her because we were like in the doghouse like in 3 seconds. We didn't have, no grace.
Yeah.
And I was doing the same thing.
Yeah, because it's what you knew. It was what you're comfortable with.
And then after my husband had that talk with me, I realized that I had to do something to change.
Well, that takes a lot of courage. A lot of courage. Nancy, how do you see a lot of people kind of wanting to make a change internally?
I think it's very brave to go out and do something about it, because it's it is stepping out of your comfort zone. It's scary. It's a different world, and the people around you are sometimes not supportive about it. When you change, they're like, well, that's not what you used to do. We want the old Val back. We want the stuff that was happening before, because that's what they're comfortable with. That's where they're at. And so it makes you feel like, well, what am I doing wrong? And I love and have had these friends for so long, or a family also. And what that really is their subconscious is telling them to keep you safe. They don't want you to get hurt. They don't want you to walk someplace where you might be in danger. So staying in that comfort zone is where they want you. And you're not aligning with them anymore. So
That's a great point.
When you grow and change, your tribe doesn't always come with you.
Right. So how was that experience for your family as you started to make those changes?
Well, they don't like me. I mean, well...
Happy Mother's Day out there to all the mothers who are sitting here going, what crappy day am I in for tomorrow?
So my mom, the relationship that I had with my mother's family was horrible.
That's too bad.
It was horrible. Yeah. So as soon as I cut them off. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know anything about them anymore. I don't know. I don't care.
Right.
I really don't. And now I just have my sister and my mom, and they don't have a choice but to put up with me.
I love that.
But they do notice. My sister told me, she's like, because I told her, you need therapy. It's something that really helps. And she's like, yeah, you are very different. Now you're scary.
Oh.
And I think what she means is like before, I used to worship the ground she would walk on.
She could control you.
She could do no wrong.
Right.
I wanted to be just like her. And whatever she would say, I don't care. I would defend anything she would do and say. And now I call her out.
That's got to be hard on her.
And I'm like, no. And I just say it the way it is. Mm-hmm. Before, I used to beat around the bush because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I wanted to help myself too. But I didn't want to make people angry at me.
Did you see a difference in how you were relating also with your husband and with your children?
Yeah, with my husband, it's been really tough because he's always been like my savior. Mm. And I've always looked up to him to save me from everything. And now I feel like he's not. Sometimes I feel like he feels like he's going to lose me, or I'm not going to be around because I don't need him like I used to.
Oh, I get that. I've seen that dynamic even in my own.
He would just really help the victim more. You know what I mean? Like, come here, let me hug you, poor you. And he would always tell me things to be on my side.
But now you guys seem to be doing really well through that.
I mean, we have our struggles like everything and everyone. And sometimes it gets harder than others because now I'm this tough guy that it's really hard. Now I'm having a hard time being aware of other people's feelings. Before I had a hard time with my feelings and I would let people hurt me. And now it's kind of hard to not hurt other people's feelings because I just say it the way it is.
I think you bring up a really good point, though, is that when we are not looking at ourselves, we're paying attention to everybody else. And when we are taking care of ourselves first, we don't have the time and energy to worry about everybody else. Do you agree with that, Nancy? You're nodding.
Yeah, I just, I heard you say a little about, you had said earlier about pleasing people, and then I hear you say again that you worshipped your sister and would do anything for her, which is a pleasing act as well. Men need to be needed. That's one of their primary drives. And if you're too strong, he might not be feeling needed. So make sure he knows that.
That's great advice.
I try and do that a lot. I do. I clean. I'm trying to be as clingy as I can with him and everything like that. And I like to joke around along with him. I mean, you've seen us.
Oh yeah, and they were on the show before. We're going to go to break real quick, and then when we come back, we'll talk more about how therapy is continuing to bless you and move you forward in your life. Right after this. We are living our best life. This is Kiki with Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life, sharing stories of people who have been through the worst but are now living their best to give hope and inspiration to others. Here with Nancy Jones today of Crossroads Coaching and Career Counseling. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And also Val Moreno, our guest. She's sharing about how she embraced therapy to change her anger and hurts from her past and how her family was responding to it. We talked about your sister and mother and husband and how their response was, but how has your connection with your children grown through that experience?
Oh, wow. Even my children are like, they cannot believe who this person is.
For the better?
Yes.
That's great.
It was one day where my son dropped his hot cocoa on the carpet. And he's like, I'm sorry, like remembering the reaction that I used to have. And I was surprised because I was like, not mad, you know? Yeah. I was like, babe, calm down. We'll clean it up. You're not going to get mad at me? I'm like, no.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's not a big deal. So my kids are like, what? You know? So they love it. They love it.
It's a good reminder because tomorrow it happens to be Mother's Day too. And I know as a mother, especially when my kids were young, I never got the acclimates I felt I had deserved. You know what I mean? On Mother's Day, it always kind of felt like a letdown sometimes. And I would criticize myself as a mother all the time. You know, every time I lost my temper, every time I raised my voice, every time I would swear at my children, it would just use that as fuel to beat myself up. And that's never productive.
Yes.
No, that just keeps you in that negative pattern.
I feel that. I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. But so just being graceful with yourself, I think helps.
Yeah.
Be graceful with others.
Another nugget that I've learned from this journey is my weight loss journey. I used to think that losing weight would be just like getting on a diet and exercising.
Oh, yeah, because that's always worked every 39 times I tried it.
And I think it had a lot more to do with my mental health than that.
Absolutely.
I used to constantly just be thinking about food. Like it was like an addiction. Like it was easier for me to let go of my alcoholism when I used to be an alcoholic and smoking than my addiction to food. That was like the toughest. And now I don't always think of food. It's not like the first thing on my mind.
Why do you think you were you using it as a comfort or distraction?
It was so much easy. It was one of those things where I learned that it's something to blame.
Okay.
Not me. It's my food addiction. It's because I eat a lot. It's not me. And it's so much easier to put blame on anything else than yourself, because then you have to work on yourself to fix what's wrong with you. And when I started realizing that, that's how I was dealing with my emotions, because I never knew how to do that. And not knowing how to love myself was something that was just breaking me. And that self-love that I didn't have was being fulfilled with food. And now that I'm learning how to I'm not all there yet.
It's progress, not perfection.
I'm not all there yet, but I feel like I'm closer to just being completely in love with myself. You know, it's been tough. And I think that is like the most important thing that I can tell your listeners through this. Therapy has helped me come to a place where I can at least tolerate myself.
That's really cool. And Nancy, you're a life coach, but you also have a background. Or Nero, share again how you describe your business. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it justice.
A lot of folks say life coach, and it just that doesn't resonate with me well. So
okay,
I'm a neuro leadership coach, a peak performance coach. You can say those kind of things. I try to help people get the best out of themselves as a guide, and I am a former counselor as well.
Yeah, so you have a very diverse background in how people can make changes in their lives or address these kinds of same issues that Val's been sharing. Mm-hmm. What would be a first step you'd recommend if someone's out there and they're feeling that same either anger or quick to anger or not knowing how to love themselves? What would you first recommend for them?
Well, really, it would depend on what they would like to do. If they would like to go back and look and discover root issues and work on the root issues from the past, things like that, then I would recommend counseling. Mm-hmm. There's some great therapists out there who do wonderful work, and they have a lot of tools in their tool belts as well. If they want to start from where they are today and just work to the present, that's what I do. My philosophy is that it doesn't matter to me where it came from. It's here, and let's work on it, and let's figure out how to fix it. I heard Val, I heard you say you blame food. A lot of times we use all those things as excuses to deflect and to divert from what we know we're supposed to be doing. But if we all know how to lose weight. We all know what it takes. We know how to do it. It's a mental game. It's all a mental game. And so what I do is work with the programming in your mind and in your psychology to help you flip that to default to the positive and to work forward to see yourself as the person who has lost that weight. That's the awesome. Person in the future. And it's called future pacing. It's a part of neuro-linguistic programming. So just to see that, because if you can't see yourself as that, if you can't believe that it's going to happen, you're going to sabotage yourself. You're going to get really close to that goal weight and then sabotage yourself some way because I could never look like that. And those are some programmings that may be down there that you're not even aware of. And I heard you talk about hypnotherapy.
Yes.
That's a great way to find out what those little voices are saying in the back of your head. But
yeah. I've been just absolutely blown away by how successful both working with the neuro encoding. See, I'm not the sharpest crayon in the light box.
It's a new word. We just trademarked it, so it's not. It's kind of like neuro leadership. I just made it up.
There you go. I just say they didn't give me a radio show based off my smart spot, guys. Never run out of something to talk about, but doesn't mean it's going to be smart. But I love that we can turn to experts who know the smart things when we don't. I might not understand how the neuro things in the brain work and those connections, but you do. And working with you, I know I can trust what you have to recommend and that you know why it works, even if I don't understand it. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's good for me. And Val, what were some of those steps or processes that you took through therapy to get to learn how to love yourself?
Recognizing the triggers. Like, for example, my sister was mad at me the other day because she said that she was cleaning out her closet. And, the thing is that she got sick. She has an autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. So she's very swollen. She's not fat. She's just swollen because of this disease. It's scleroderma. And she said that she was cleaning out her closet. And she's like, I already gave away all my size 4 pants because they're never going to fit me. And I told her, well, why don't you give them to me? They don't fit me right now, but they will. I feel like next summer I should be ready for them. She's like, no. I'm going to give them to anybody except for you because you're looking like you're looking I'm sorry. you're looking
But you guys got into an argument.
You're looking too skinny and I don't like the way you look and no, you're not going to get those pants.
Okay.
And I already gave them away. And she ended up giving them to my mom so she could give them away. And I told my mom, she's like, "Oh, I'll just save them for you."
Well, so did that trigger you? You were
It
saying how
triggered
you
me.
did your triggers.
It triggered me so much, and I wanted to go back to the refrigerator, and I cried, and I felt so hurt, and I didn't feel hurt that she told me that I didn't look good, because not everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, you look great, It was more that she didn't want to give me the pants. When she's always giving me all her clothes.
So when you used to respond, you'd get angry in return. How did you stop yourself from getting angry?
Before I would just shut down.
Okay.
I wouldn't say anything, especially to my sister. I would just swallow everything.
Yeah.
And I would just smile and I apologize to her. And now I didn't tell her anything. I just told her, what, you're jealous or what? And then I just started kind of like being really sarcastic.
Yeah.
And then she just cut off the conversation with me. And after that, now she just made it into a joke and stuff like that I'm ugly and this and that or whatever. But just recognizing the triggers and working on what I'm going to do to not fall into the whole eating thing. Like, I wanted to go hit up the ice cream. I wanted chips. I wanted this. I wanted that. I'm like, no, wait a minute. This is her problem. She's upset because she can't wear that clothes anymore. It's not about me. It's about her.
That's the key right there.
And that's where I started catching myself to not eat so much. Just recognizing the triggers and having a plan in place of what not to do.
That's great. Any last words of advice you have for our listeners about how therapy's been helpful for you, or what you recommend if they're feeling in the same position?
I feel like one of the things that stopped a lot of people of getting therapy is that they think that they're crazy, or they look down on it like it's something that they shouldn't do. You should. I feel like we should all be born with a therapist.
Therapist, neuro,
anything,
encoding,
any kind of help, any kind of help that you can get. You know what I mean? Decide what you want to do. Decide if you want to get better. Decide what you want to do, but you have to make that decision.
You got to do something.
Nobody
different.
can make it for you.
You're absolutely right. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. This was a great conversation, ladies. Thank you so much for being part of it. Thank you, Nancy Jones with Crossroads Coaching and Career Counseling. Sean Scott, hypnotherapist, We Care Tucson, Sarah Sodders, real estate. There is a new issue of the Tucson Homeowners Magazine and Oro Valley Homeowners Magazine. Phones Down, Just Drive, and Network Outdoors. We couldn't be here without you, so thank you so much. And this is Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life. Go be the best version you can be, because nobody else can do it better than you. Have a good week, folks.